Hei og folkens over internett, og velkommen tilbake til en ny video til et spill som heter The Beginner's Guide. Jeg er gjeng bak Stanley Parable som har laget dette spillet. Jeg vet ikke hvor mange som har vært med i spillet. Nå skal vi nå se, i hvert fall lignende type spill. Men la oss bare sette i gang og se hva dette spillet er for noe. Please make sure audio is on. Ja. Jeg har lyd inn i hodet her, inn i headsetet gjennom det. Så, pitt. Kontrollos, vastos, med museros, hos oss.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide.
Takk.
My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote the
Davey.
Stanley Parable. And while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011.
Well, okay.
We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda.
Coda.
Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way.
Hello.
And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda.
Okay.
So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loaded, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Okay. 9 år siden. I et hvitt rom så går vi inn til et wow! Whisper machine status. Jeg kan skyte.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Kan jeg gå gjennom her? Nei. Skal jeg liksom være ild eller noe? Jeg er nødt til å gå nå igjen da. Ok. Fair enough. Hvor havner vi nå? Okay, let's go! Woo! Exit, let me get to the exit now!
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
I
love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Bunnen av universet. Her kan vi se den. Ganske plain. Grått. Denne veien, ok. Hvor skal vi gå?
Apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it.
Nei, labyrint ikke med sterke. Si det.
There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it.
Takk for den, du. Jeg kan ikke... Skal jeg?
Or if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
Nei, jeg tror ikke jeg skal gjøre. Utgangen, sant? Takk for det.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Motorrommet. Ok. Veldig...
You there, in the engine room. You could save us all.
Meg du snakker
That
til?
beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam.
My body?
It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
For å redde menneskeheten. Hvis jeg må, så må jeg vel...
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Hva skjedde? Hva skal skje? Skal jeg gå igjen i strålen igjen? Jeg antar må det som over det. Ok, jeg flyver opp. Jeg gjennom verden også, gitt. What? Kjør! Der er labyrinten.
The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him.
Jeg kan
Because
se
yes, this is
veien i alle
technically a
fall.
glitch,
For
but
labyrinten.
Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
Ok, forstå. La oss se hva mer han laget. November 2008. Jeg kan... What?
In this game,
What?
you can only walk backwards.
Seriøst? Jeg kan bare gå bak. The past was behind her. Bak veien. Altså, ikke gå den bak veien, hvis du skjønner. Jeg skal ikke snakke om ting som jeg ikke vet hva jeg kan snakke om. What?
So it's a short and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is
What the
less
shoot?
advanced
What?
than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
And she steps and looks, it becomes clearer. At jeg skal ut den veien, åpenbart, ja. Må ikke jeg rote meg fremover, altså bak veien. Altså gå bakover, mener jeg. What? To go front
It's a
it?
short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
Neste spill. Fortsatt i november 2008. Føler. Hvor vi går inn i henne nå? Det er for ikke bakveien vi snakker om denne gangen.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting.
Jeg har flere spill på lager også. Nå i desember. Måned senere.
Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games.
Veldig
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games.
minimalistisk.
He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all,
Okay.
but what are you gonna do?
Jeg kunne ikke gå over verden, ut av verden, mener jeg. Jeg må også gå denne veien, det ser det til. Det er den eneste veien, mistenker jeg. Så la oss bare gå her. Hvorfor slår jeg ned her nå? What?
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone,
why you do this to me?
Why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
Takk for det. Boop! Sånn. Takk skal du ha. Jeg har ikke giddet å gå den lange, korte, sakte veien opp for å komme hit. Det har ikke jeg giddet. Stand on X staring at the bear for 3 timer. Game of only motivational quotes. Played one after the other while.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Og det er ideer. Key in one game unlocks the door in a completely separate game.
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
En god del ideer på den karen her, ja. Nå sier de meg at det er faktisk flere ideer andre steder også. Eller, ready set fish? Sier du at jeg skal fiske nå? Det ser ikke et sted jeg kan fiske, og trenger å gå ut. Ut av dette bygget i alle fall, minst. Hva prøver du meg å si at vi skal fiske innendørs, eller? Nei, jeg vet ikke.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle.
Puslespill.
Go ahead and see if you can solve it.
Det er en enkel løsning her. Det er bare å trykke opp spaken. Og vi går inn i et mørke. Kan ikke se noe her. Ingenting her inne, jo. Men en idé kom til min hode her nå. Hva om jeg trykker på spaken mens jeg går inn? Ja. Og der har vi en annen spake på selve døren. Fornuftig.
Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
Ok. Sånn puslespill der kan jeg klare. Det klarer jeg fint. Mellom vel avanserte som Portal 2.
You walk down a corridor, you solve the puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. Alright, now I'm going to modify the game again, so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
Okay. Boop. Boop. Oh boy. Veldig mange veier da.
There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world.
Det er motsatt da.
Either way, I think that the point is the same. Is that most of the time, you don't get to know what you're missing. Or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
Håper vi til neste måned her, januar. Samme år, eller? Jeg husker ikke. Hjernen min er helt paff akkurat nå.
So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Nå er mars i 2009. The Great and Lovely Descent. Veldig plain og hvitt omgivelser til en verden der hvor bare et hus er til stede, ser ut til. Bare gå mot huset.
Let's talk about video game development for a second.
Okay.
Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do.
Ja.
So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development.
Ja. Det sant. Sånn som Source
to make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
Sånn som Stanley Parable var jo laget I Source.
The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
Ok, jeg kunne ikke det, så det er I hvert fall godt. Jeg bare hopper rett gjennom det der boksene uten sånn... skipper hele hoppedelingen. Hoppedelen, nei. Wow, se nå jeg bare. Hva er dette her for å se da? Det ser ut som et fengsel, kanskje? Brøstenbreik? Jeg vet ikke. Først lov, hvordan er det? Ok. Wow, ok. Det var en heis. Jeg fikk litt til å skvatte der, du. Heis. Peis. Mais. Ok. Alle melder du som teller. Skipet går ut I år. Skipet snor. Jeg kan ikke resten. Hvorfor ikke jeg bare gå den veien? Jeg får ikke lov å gå. Den veien da? Nei. Det er bare en vei selvfølgelig.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go.
En time
If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
Bra. Det var kjekt lagt takla.
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games.
That was full of
hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in, and nothing else.
Box
every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere.
Wow, altså du har hatt god tid, mye tid på deg her da. Jeg kan ikke gå I det glassen og sånn, men smuligens.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time.
Yeah, enkel løsning på en oppgave.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Ok. Bare gå videre ned der. Jeg tror det var et lys med det. Det er bare hull I taket. Fair enough. Skal vi se, hvor har vi noe nå da? Et rom. Listen, speak, listen.
Here, Coda begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
You there, did you come from up above? What was up there? Yeah, there also was sampled whiteness. Was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Yes, there are these floating color blocks. There was about 2. That's the world above, you've been there. Now this is important, did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors? Switches? Ja. Det hadde jeg. That was literally the last thing I did before coming here. Again, perfect. Now please tell us how you solved it. Tell us the solution. Du solt meg, du har ikke lyst til å gå der. Hvorfor ikke? Oh no, but we need to get there. Do you understand? This is the most important thing in the world. We have to escape this prison. There must be an ending. I promise you, there's nothing I want more. Hva? Vei ut? Takk. Takk. Et nytt rom. Jeg må gi deg. Hvordan kom jeg hit? Hva er det puzzle de hadde? Puzzle? Nei, jeg hadde ikke jeg det. Suggest you go and see the puzzle sometime. It's not meant to be solved, but you can sit in a black space in the middle. Hvem er dere? Det lurer jeg litt på. Just go hang out here in the blackness for a bit. You may not like it first, but it will grow on you, eventually. Spørs. Ok, vi har en trapp her. Kommer ikke til samme rom, tenker jeg. Håper jeg. Eller, jeg vet ikke.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level.
Ok. En trang korridor. Hvor havner vi? Ut der. Ok.
It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe he can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination.
Right, okay.
We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
Okay, vi fader ut. Til hvor? Loading. Okay, the game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Men før vi går videre skal jeg ta og avslutte episoden. Jeg kommer til å lage flere episoder. Jeg tror jeg kommer til å spille ut spillet. Jeg tror det er 2 timer til 3 timer, kanskje noe sånt. Men ja, hvis du er ny til kanalen, så må du selvfølgelig abonnere. Det er en vanlig gruppe, så trykk på tommel opp og sett den også på e-sport, så inntil neste gang, folkens. Så snakkes vi nå. Hei, hå.